So I'm doing another 24-hour reading challenge. It's been a month since my previous one. I think a month, maybe it's been like 3 weeks. I read 80% of one single book the last time I did this challenge. This time I am aiming to finish at least one book, which is gonna be pretty easy because this is kind of cheating, but I already started Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books by Kirsten Miller. I started this a couple days ago. When I finish this book though, I'm just gonna count it as like finishing up 60% of a single book because I did start off at 41%. But when I finish this book, I'm either gonna read Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, or I'm gonna read The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. So it's 4 p.m. today to 4 p.m. tomorrow, exactly 24 hours. The timer is not gonna stop at all, even if I sleep. Those are the 3 books, and hopefully I finish 1.5 books. I do have all 3 books on my Kindle. Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books is so good. It's about this fictional town called Troy in Georgia. There's this woman, Lula Dean. She takes it upon herself to kind of ban a bunch of books from this town, like the public library in this town. Books that we grew up like reading in school, like Diary of Anne Frank, Catcher in the Rye, and a whole bunch of other books. Probably one of the worst things you can do. She opened up this little library in front of her house. By library, it's like this tiny little library, like this box. They're called like little free libraries. They're all over the city that I live in too. Literally like give and take a book. If you have any books in your library that you're not gonna read and you think deserve a better home, you can just take them and put them in these little libraries. They're all over the place at littlefreelibrary.org to see if there's any like close to where you live. Anyways, I'll talk more about this tomorrow. Good morning. It's a rainy day. Not surprising. I feel like every time it's raining, I'm picking up my camera to film, and I love that. I love the rain so much. It inspires me. It puts me in such a great mood. It takes me out of, you know, this little bubble of work, and it puts me into this little bubble of let me create something, let me do something, let me read something, let me be happy. Anyways, I finished Lula Dean's Library of Banned Books late last night, and then I started my next book, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and I got to about 10% of this book before I fell asleep. The book is actually really good. 10% in, and I'm already hooked. It's about vampires and humans. The book starts off with this little human girl. She is just laying there in the middle of the street. There's these vampires who are about to like kill her, I guess, and then the king of vampires, Vincent, sees that little girl. He basically takes her and he's like completely enamored by her. He's like holding on to her and she bites him. He calls her Serpent, my little serpent, I think that's what he calls. It's so cute, and he's like completely in love with her. He takes her and he raises her in her castle and he calls her my little serpent. So we learn a little bit about the vampires in this book. They come out at night, they hunt at night, so humans basically stay in their homes during the night. And if they're out of their homes, then it's free reign to kill the humans, basically. This place is called the House of Night. There's Vincent, the king of vampires, who's really sweet. And the main character, the woman, she is getting ready to enter some competition with the vampires. Maybe it's kind of like to like prove herself, maybe. She's very brave, she's very smart, she has a potty mouth, and I feel like actually everybody in this book has a potty mouth. They're all cursing and swearing. I guess this is book number 1. There's more books after this, which is very exciting because 10% in, I'm really enjoying it. Let's see how it goes. If I get to about 41% of this book by 4 p.m. today, then I'll count that as me reading one book, because I started reading Lula Dean's Little Library of Banned Books at about 41% yesterday, and I finished it. I think that's a fair assessment, and I am definitely, mark my words, gonna get to at least 41% of this book But Lula Dean's little library of banned books, I just want to take like a couple of minutes just talking about this book. It takes place in this small southern town called Troy in the state of Georgia. There's this woman called Lula Dean. She's just a shameless woman. She took it upon herself to have all kinds of books banned from the public library in this town. So children of this town don't, not even just children, even adults don't have access to a lot of books. Basically, she thinks all these books are promoting propaganda and have pornography in it, which is completely untrue because the books that she banned include Anne Frank's diary, Catcher in the Rye, books on Holocaust, books on slavery, books on homosexuality. It's not even that she cares that these kids are being exposed to this kind of material. Her problem is she just wants to be the center of attention. She has nobody in her life other than her little dog. Like, her husband passed away and her 2 kids left her. Like, as soon as they turned 18, they got out of that town and they're like, see ya. And she's caused a lot of troubles in this little town. Like, nobody really likes her. You know, it's a very conservative town. There's a portion of the people in this town that just don't care. They just want to live their lives. You do you, I do me. We live in this town, we're good. And then there's other people in this town that do follow whatever Lula Dean's putting out into the world by banning these books. They are white supremacists. There are people like that in that town as well. But for the majority, most of the people just want to live their own lives. So after she bans all the books, what Lula ends up doing is she builds this little library in front of her house, this little hutch in front of her house, and she puts all kinds of like books in there that she gets at Goodwill for like $1 each. The most boring books ever: The Southern Belle's Guide to Etiquette, 101 Cakes to Bake for Your Family, The Art of the Deal. All these banned books, by the way, they're all gone from the library. They're in the basement of this woman called Beverly Underwood. She's like the president of the school board, and she is the nemesis of Lula Dean. Like, Lula Dean hates Beverly. So Beverly, she's like, no, you can't just ban books. But in the meantime, Beverly takes all these banned books and puts them in her basement. What ends up happening is Beverly's daughter, Lindsay, one night, like before she goes back to college, she takes these banned books, takes their covers off, and she replaces the books in the library, Lula Dean's library in front of her porch. She replaces all the dust jackets and she puts these banned books in the library, and one by one, each of the people in the town just kind of come to the library. They start borrowing the books, and these books change their lives. These books include like literary classics. They have gay romance, Black history, Judy Blume books, books on witchy spells, and these books completely changed the lives of the townsfolk. But eventually the truth does come out that these books have been switched, and Lindsay does get in trouble, Beverly does get in trouble, but at the end of the book, everything turns out okay. It's a happy ending, and I hope one day, you know, a lot of our southern towns also have these kinds of happy endings. You're not forcing people to change anything about their lifestyle, right? You're just allowing people to live their lives the way they want to be lived. And basically that's it. Just you live and then let live. This book was very, very amazing, and I feel like a lot of people in the US and around the world would highly benefit from this book. It has very nice perspectives and explanations to why we can't just hide history from our kids, why that's never a good idea. So yeah, that is this book. I'm gonna continue reading, and then I'll talk to you in a little bit. I'm super hungry. It's almost 12, so let's make some lunch. It's been 24 hours and 5 minutes. I stopped this clock about 40 minutes ago. I feel like I read so much today. Parts of this book I did audiobook because my eyes were just like, they were getting so dry. So while I was audiobooking, I was doing the diamond painting. Diamond painting has been like kind of an obsession for me. I diamond painted a couple of coasters and now I moved on to bookmarks. So I did it with my friends, and then sometimes I just do it myself when I just need to. It's just so satisfying. It scratches an itch in my brain. I can't even explain it. Anyways, I made it to chapter 43 of the book, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. It is really good. It's really cute. I haven't read a book like this before, and I think the one question I have is, why do the vampires in this book have wings? Do vampires have wings? Because my vampires are, you know, like the Cullens from Twilight, the Salvatores and the Michelsons, you know, from the Vampire Diaries. But other than that, I don't think I'm very familiar with any other types of vampires. And those vampires, they don't have wings. So I was having kind of a hard time picturing what these vampires looked like exactly. I just could not picture them. Yeah, I made it to about 77%, page 408. I feel like I completed one single book, you know, from 41% to 41%, and then I did another, let's see, 40% to 50%. So let's just say I read 1.5 books in 24 hours. That is very impressive. I feel like I need a break, so I'm gonna give this book a break for a little while, maybe until tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I just feel like I also need to give my eyes a break, and I'm just gonna chill. I want to watch something. When I am watching something, all I want to do is read. But now that I've read for so long, I kind of want to watch something. So that's kind of like a weird feeling. So I think I'll watch some YouTube. I've been adding a whole bunch of videos to like my watch later list, so I'll do that. My final thoughts: both books, very, very nice. Especially the first book. It was just such a learning experience. So entertaining. I kept talking about how I was like taking away all these lessons from this book, but I didn't talk about how or why I was taking away so many lessons. The author did it in such a funny way. The stories were funny. They were emotional and they were heartbreaking, even heartwarming. It was so funny. It just made me feel like I didn't want to put down the book. It wasn't all like heavy topic. She dealt with heavy topics with some comedy, and then The Serpent and the Wings of Night is just really cute. I haven't read a fantasy book in quite a while. I am glad I picked this up. This is really good. And then I think I'm gonna read the next 2 books as well. Maybe one of them is out already. I think the other one is coming out soon. I think I will read it. I'm kind of like invested in these characters. It took me just a little bit because I had to like build up the world as I was reading, right? So I couldn't get like immediately hooked, immediately like connected with the characters. There's a lot happening, and this relationship between Vincent and the main character, that father-daughter, this complicated relationship that's happening is very intriguing. I'm kind of like, I see it. It's not gonna end well. I feel like something really bad is about to come, and I feel like I'm in the middle of that right now. I want to just keep reading. Yeah, so that past 24 hours was quite an experience. I liked it, but it's also exhausting. I think I want to do another one. Probably will give it a couple weekends break. It is gorgeous weather outside, and I'm already thinking about the next books I want to read. I'm still like a couple weeks away, so. Hi, it's a couple days later. I finished the book. The book being The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I finished it yesterday. I don't have too many thoughts, but I do have a little bit of an update. I did want to finish the video, so I found out also it was published in 2022. So there are 2 other books already published in this series, and I think it's gonna be a 6-book series. I don't think I'm gonna read the next few anytime soon. I thought the story was obviously good, and the writing was okay. The smut was so cringy. Oh boy. The smut came on as I was listening to the audiobook. I was so cringed out. Did not like it. I wanted to puke. I actually honestly wanted to puke, and then I kind of like, I was doing the dishes, so I didn't have a chance to like fast forward it. So I was just like completely flabbergasted. It was weird because I've read a lot of really good books recently, so I think like romantasy is just not cutting it for me right now. Even maybe like romance in itself. When I am reading romance books, I've noticed it's more about like adult fiction romance, people going through some like serious struggles and focusing more on those struggles rather than the smut aspect of it. Maybe I'm just at like that age, you know? But anyways, we find out that the main character, Aurea, is actually Vincent's daughter. I saw that coming from like the very first few pages, because there's no way this vampire man has like such a soft spot for this like human girl just because she bites. When she bit him in like the first few pages, he was just like completely in love with her. He's like, "You are my daughter. I will take you home and you will be raised a princess." That's what happened. So I kind of feel like, there's something sketchy going on. I feel like she's secretly his daughter or something. So that makes Aurea half vampire and half human, and I think that's pretty cool. Aurea wins the Kajari. Kajari was like that big tournament everyone was like fighting towards. She meets the goddess of death. Throughout the book, her one wish was like she wanted to be powerful enough to like beat vampires basically, but her final wish, she wishes that Rain actually won instead of her, and the goddess of death makes that happen. They both survive. I feel like my younger self would have devoured this book completely, like I devoured like Akatar, or let's see, The Fourth Weighing Iron Flame, that kind of thing. The concept was very amazing. I might stay away from romantasy for a little bit. I do have one more book in my fall reading list. That book was Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, so I might give that a shot before I kind of let romantasy go completely, you know what I mean? Thank you for joining my 24-hour reading challenge. This is my second one, and I feel like I do want to make another one, and maybe I'll change it up a little bit. I might do one where I do read for 24 hours straight. I would probably go blind, but I do want to give it a shot because I feel like that would be kind of entertaining, and I really am curious to see how much I can read if I wasn't sleeping or getting chores done or doing any of the other things. Just reading for 24 hours. I'm really curious, so I might do that.